So I just found out about this whole Pinesap situation. I wanted to give my commentary on it. I'm not going to be very happy about this whole thing because from what I've seen, at least the few clips that I've watched or whatever on some streams or whatever, it doesn't look good. Okay, we already are going through some scandal with a couple Catholic and other Christian influencers, and this made me really angry this morning. So I'm just gonna go ahead and play through it, and then I'm gonna go ahead and give some commentary about like why this is a huge issue and why I made that essay 2 weeks ago. If you haven't watched it, it's called How Tribalism Hurts Men. And basically, I talk about why white nationalism is not compatible with Christianity. Okay? I made that video because this is a huge problem I'm seeing not just in Protestant circles, but now I'm seeing it more in Catholic circles. Okay? This is a huge issue, and I think this Pinesap kid is going to make my point clear as to why we need to address this and why it needs to be stomped out of the church. I'll get into more personal anecdotes later, but let's go ahead and start the video.
My next claim is that Donald Trump is defying the Constitution.
Oh, and just before we begin, so Mehdi Hassan, he's the one that started this whole 1 versus 20 jubilee. He was invited onto the platform, and so it's 20 far right conservatives or possibly whoever else, white nationalists, Nick Fuentes supporters or whatever on the other side of the aisle. So the question is, Trump is defying the Constitution, and you're going to have one oppose and one support.
Nice to meet
pleasure
you.
to meet you, sir.
Mehdi, lovely to meet you.
So I would say that with Trump being anti-Constitution, I don't really care, to be quite frankly.
Okay.
Because in regards to the Constitution is a document that should seek to serve us.
Yes.
And when it fails to seek to serve us, that can be amended. Laws can be changed. And quite frankly, the fact is, we're defending things in this country that shouldn't be defended. The First Amendment should not defend pornography and making children and women be victimized. Making women and children be victimized as a result of that. I think things like blasphemy shouldn't be allowed per the First Amendment. I think that, quite frankly, there are a lot of legal processes that are enabling criminals and bad people to fully enact their will in this country in the name of the Constitution or following the Constitution. So, quite frankly, if Trump is anti-Constitution, good, and I think he should go further.
Okay, so first of all, I want to say that he actually makes a good point that I agree with. I don't endorse the Constitution. I don't care about free speech. Okay? I'm not much of a gun nut, so I don't really care about, the Second Amendment. But as far as, the Constitution, it's one of those things where I don't care if it gets changed. Okay? I'm not okay. I have to make this point first of all because I know a lot of people don't know who I am, or they're just maybe this is their first video. Okay, American is not my first identity. It's not my primary identity. I just happen to be born in America. I just happen to be born in Michigan, okay? But my primary identity is Christian, okay? I converted to the Catholic faith back in 2020, and as I grew stronger in my faith, I felt that I have to defend my faith and I have to learn more about my faith and I have to grow stronger in my relationship with Jesus Christ, okay? That's my primary identity, okay? So, all the way back, if we're going back to 2016, I was getting pulled in all sorts of directions about what my identity is and who I am, okay? Was I white? Was I alt-right? Was I this? Was I that? Was I neo-fascist? Was I some sort of not neoconservative? Was I some sort of paleo-conservative? Whatever, right? I had a bit of an identity crisis because of the current state of politics. Okay, and it was obviously very confusing, and I had no direction of where to go because at the time I was a Protestant that didn't go to church anymore. I had lost a lot of faith in where I was and who I wanted to be, and in the church itself, until I finally came back. Okay, that's just a very brief summation of like a couple years in my young adult years and my teenage years as well. But we got a lot of people that are attracted to the alt-right. We got a lot of people that are still attracted to white nationalist sentiments. We got a lot of people that are attracted to the idea that like America is some sort of country that just lost its way, but it was always great or whatever, right? It never did anything wrong, and all the dark past that was in America or whatever. It's just misunderstood history, right? You got a lot of these people that are in the far right, and they're trying to reconcile it with their faith because they still want to be called Christian, but they can't. It's like they don't want to admit that their country is almost antithetical to their faith. Okay, this is something I had to accept about myself. Okay, but I'll get into that later. I gotta play the video.
This is this is wonderfully revealing of the modern conservative mindset. So I appreciate you spelling it out so openly. Just checking. Do you support the Second Amendment?
I do.
Okay. Surprise. I was shocked to hear that. I'm saying that Donald Trump is defying the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the 14th Amendment. He's thinking of defying the 12th and 22nd Amendments. You're saying you don't care about the Constitution, but actually you do because you quite like the Second Amendment. You just don't like the bits that you disagree with. Can I just be clear on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm more than willing to amend it and include
Whenever
the
it's in
Second
your
Amendment.
favor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So can Democrats do the same when they're in office?
No, absolutely not. Because
you don't
it's the
believe in
friend enemy.
democracy?
No, I don't. Absolutely not.
What do you believe in?
Autocracy.
By who?
Honestly, quite frankly, anyone who is in line with Catholic teaching.
Donald Trump is not Catholic.
Of course, he's not. I completely agree, and that's part of the problem.
You don't support Trump?
No, I don't. I didn't even vote for him. I wrote in like John Pork or someone. I can't even remember.
Why did you vote if you don't believe in democracy and you want autocracy?
Well, because quite frankly, I voted. I kind of voted just to.
I came with this
troll a
argument,
little
but I'm
bit,
bored of my own argument. I'm much more interested in this. So
yeah, absolutely.
How do we get to an autocracy?
I think, quite frankly, that if we are able to enact local leaders.
Who is the we, by the way?
I think, quite frankly, these far right conservatives sitting right around
White
me.
people?
Yeah,
No
absolutely.
brown people. So,
well, actually,
All right, but so before he gets to the whole race thing or whatever, right? As someone that was on the far right, as someone that was getting pulled into that direction, okay, I want to clarify, I'm not in that space anymore, okay? I was someone that was listening to Devin Stack and Adam Green and a lot of these morons, Black Pigeon Speaks, whatever. But ever since I started to actually take my faith seriously, okay, and not treat and I'll probably make a separate video on this, okay. There is a complete difference between online religion, okay, the whole based Christianity, and the actual practice of Christianity, okay? Not just going to Sunday Mass, but also going to the holy days of obligation, going to confession, reading Scripture, analyzing Scripture, from a historical, literary perspective, trying to understand church teaching, reading the church fathers, okay? Analyzing yourself and your behavior and your politics and seeing if it aligns with church teaching and sacred scripture, okay? Having a devout prayer life, okay? It's very, very different, okay, compared to being on Twitter all day and retweeting pictures, with words like base or cringe, okay? This shouldn't be that hard, but apparently it is. It's sitting on like a Discord server or a Telegram chat room all day, as if like that's somehow spiritually helping you at all. It's not. This is something that I unfortunately was stuck in, as a former reformed incel or whatever you want to call me. That's fine. But it's you're terminally online when you are stuck in that mode of behavior, okay? And I'm sympathetic. I understand why people get like that, but this is what it leads to. You end up like this guy, where you're attracted to a lot of these absurd ideas, and you end up being just completely out of it, and it shows itself right here. Okay, does he actually, reflect any of the standards that a true Christian should reflect, any of the moral, teachings that the church teaches, I'm not seeing it right now. So let's go ahead.
I have quite.
Some of the people
I
in this
have
room
quite-
don't make the cut
no,
from what I can
actually,
see visually.
Actually,
Okay.
hold on for a moment. I do think that there are people who happen to not be white who do actually have history in this country and have roots in this country. For instance, from the Mexican-American War, we subsumed a lot of territory of people who have far stakes in this country who happen to be Hispanic or what have you.
Okay.
I'm for defending the traditional demographics of this country, which is majority white and
how-
should stay that way.
Okay, that's frustrating because I just wrote that essay on why I'm not a white nationalist. Okay. The traditional demographics, like, are you kidding me? Okay. Uh, do I have to make the whole history about the indigenous peoples? Like, do I have to make a whole video on that? Okay. And again, okay, let me, let me pull up a quote about Benjamin Franklin, what he had to say about, like, what's white, okay? So this is paragraph 24 from Benjamin Franklin's Observations Concerning the Increase of Mankind, Peopling of Countries, etc. Quote, which leads me to add one remark, that the number of purely white people in the world is proportionally very small. All Africa is black or tawny, Asia chiefly tawny, America wholly so, and in Europe the Spaniards, Italians, French, Russian, and Swedes are generally of what we call a swarthy complexion, as are the Germans also, the Saxons only excepted, who with the English make the principal body of white people on the face of the earth. I could wish their numbers were increased, and while we are, as I may call it, scouring our planet by clearing America of woods, and so making this side of our globe reflect a brighter light to the eyes of inhabitants in Mars or Venus, why should we, in the sight of superior beings, darken its people? So, I mean, this just reminds me of that debate between Richard Spencer and Sargon of Akkad. No Wignat, no white nationalists, especially if we're talking about Americans, can identify what's white. You know, you had Benjamin Franklin that's saying Russians are not white, Swedes are not white, Germans are not white. Okay. And these white nationalists morons on Discord and Twitter, Nick Fuentes, they love the Germans, but yet the German Nazis hate them so much. They would never consider Americans to be white, regardless their English ancestry or whatever, or whether they call themselves Anglo-Saxon. And I've got people that try to use science, they try to give me textbooks and saying, well, you look at the demographic background and stuff like that. There's DNA that points to all these groups having similar complexions that make them Caucasian or whatever. Yeah, no one thinks like that. No average person is going to think like that. Most people are going to point to heritage, okay? And that's not. It's. I don't know. I don't know how people can just, think like this and revere the Constitution, revere the Founding Fathers, who hated other white people and say that white nationalism will ever work. It's impossible, And they also want to say that America was a white country. It wasn't. But anyway, let's go ahead and continue with where we left off.
United States, I mean, we've gone so off topic, but how does the United States look like under you? Sorry, what's your name?
My name is, my name's Connor. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Took a little bit of a doubt there.
Oh,
to say
well,
your name.
I use
Connor,
a pseudonym online,
fair enough,
but
Connor.
fair enough.
How would Connor's America look? What would it look like?
Well, quite frankly, I think we would deport people who shouldn't be here.
No, I didn't ask about
whether-
deporting. What does the government look like?
What does the government look like?
Yeah.
I would say, quite frankly, it's under a sort of benevolent leader, such as
Where does he come
Franco.
from?
It could be a kind of aristocratic class. Could be someone
No, but
who
who picks the autocrat?
frankly, the people. I mean, we could hold a vote on it. Kings
So
were
isn't
paid.
that democracy?
Well, sure. You can have a vote to get to that stage.
And then no more votes afterwards?
Absolutely.
Wow.
100%.
Wow. And if that autocrat kills you and your family, you're fine with that?
Well, I'm not going to be a part of the group that he kills because
How do you
that's the
know?
whole thing.
How do
Well,
you know?
Carl Schmitt
Autocrats tend to kill everyone,
Carl
even their own
Schmitt makes
supporters.
this point very well in his work. It's the friend-enemy distinction, right? You
Carl
liberals,
Schmitt, the
you-
Nazi
Yeah,
theoretician.
absolutely. I don't care.
Are you a
Who
fan of
ca-
the Nazis?
I frankly don't care being called a Nazi at
I
all.
didn't say that. I
Doesn't
didn't
matter
actually
to
say
me.
that. I said, are you a fan of the Nazis?
Well, they persecuted the church a little bit. I'm not a fan of that. But
What about the
you know,
persecution of the Jews?
well, I mean, I certainly don't support anyone's human dignity being assaulted. I'm a Catholic.
But
And
you
so
don't condemn Nazi persecution of the Jews?
I think that there was a little bit of persecution
We
and stuff
may
like
have
that,
to
which is
rename
Let's watch that again.
don't support anyone's human dignity being assaulted. I'm a Catholic.
Jews.
Well, they persecuted the church a little bit. I'm not a fan of that. But
What about the
you know,
persecution of the Jews?
well, I mean, I certainly don't support anyone's human
Just say you don't support the persecution of the Jews. It's that simple.
dignity being assaulted. I'm a Catholic.
But
And
you
so
don't condemn Nazi persecution of the Jews?
I think that there was a little bit of persecution
We
and stuff
may
like
have
that,
to
which is
rename-
bad.
How is it this hard to say that you have a problem with Jewish behavior or that you have a problem with the Jewish religion and what it teaches, but at the same time you don't support the Holocaust? It's not that hard.
This
Bad,
show
but-
because you're a little bit more than a far-right Republican.
Hey, what can I say?
I think you could say, I'm a fascist.
Yeah, I am.
1, 2,
Absolutely.
I'm just checking who's clapping just to get my set of where everyone
Because
is on this.
in
Because you know
during-
that millions of people are going to be watching you on YouTube and checking out
Yeah,
who the fascists and
absolutely.
the Nazis are.
Okay, so there's a lot of problems here. He, first of all, just admitted to being a fascist, which we'll get to. But second of all, he doesn't seem to understand how to talk about the problems between Jews and Christians, okay? He's holding almost all Jews accountable for the death of Jesus Christ on the cross, right? He's holding almost all of them collectively responsible for what the Pharisees did. And this is where he seems to be holding them, not seeing them the problem as a theological problem. He seems to be seeing it as a racial problem, which is what these far right neo-Nazis, neo-fascists do. They're not seeing it as a theological problem that needs to be addressed by helping convert the Jews to the Catholic Church. No, he's seems to be seeing it as some sort of racial distinction, which is what Hitler did. Okay, the Jews were a lesser race or whatever, and they have these cunning behaviors, these selfish behaviors because of their DNA, right? And the Germans have these greater strength and greater intelligence because of their DNA, right? How is this any different, right? Again, same goes for his sort of weird interpretation of like the traditional demographics of the United States, right? And this goes completely counter to Christianity, where again we worship someone who was born as a Jew, right? And it's Galatians 3:28, okay? This goes completely counter to any type of racial supremacy, which is why it goes counter to Zionism, because Galatians 3:28 says that there is neither Jew nor Gentile, okay? We are all brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ, okay? I don't see you for your race. I don't see you as black or Italian or Indian or Japanese or whatever. I just see you, so long as you're within the Catholic Church or you accept Jesus Christ as your Savior or whatever, as someone who is a brother, as someone who is a sister in Jesus Christ. That's it. Okay, it's not hard. Okay, this is why racism it's not compatible with the faith.
I'm not ashamed of that whatsoever.
clearly you're not.
During the
Clearly you're not.
during the pre-war period prior to World War II, it was only those parties that properly enacted the people's will. That's why they won. The conservatives were fat
Are
cats.
you
They were
in favor
aristocrats.
of,
They
are you
didn't
in
care.
favor of killing people who aren't like you?
Quite frankly, I'm not. If
You mentioned
they,
Franco earlier. Franco killed a lot of innocent people.
Oh, well, he killed communists. He killed people who raped nuns and killed priests.
What about children who he killed and women who he killed?
What are you talking about? He never killed any women or children. He was Catholic,
He only
dude.
killed combatants. Is that what you're
Yeah,
claiming?
he
now?
only killed combatants.
Never killed any innocent people.
The White Terror was only punishing those people who did acts of terrorism. And again, are you supporting like raping innocent women? Nuns, dude. Killing.
A lot of terrible people said that they were Catholic, but I'd hate to Pinesap. I don't know about the state of your salvation, but you sound like someone that's Catholic in name only. Okay, this whole talk about the traditional demographics and not being a fascist. You sound like someone that really, I don't know, the last time you actually read scripture, the last time you went to confession. I would ask that you actually first of all take the lesson that you learned from being fired from your job as something serious to be learned. I would take the humiliation that you suffered on Jubilee as something to consider, and then go to confession. Okay, maybe this was a wake up call. I I'm tired of people that just wear their religion as a skin suit, as a fashion statement, especially when it comes to the Catholicism, because the the Catholic Church is true. It is universal. It's for everyone. And this is why these whole white nationalist Groypers and Nick Fuentes are a disaster for the Catholic Church. Because the gospel message is for every single person. Okay? Nick Fuentes has been an absolute disaster for the Catholic Church. Okay? It's why I want him deplatformed. I want him gone. Okay? I I don't want him ever speaking for the Catholic faith. Okay? And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know who this Pinesap guy is or whatever, if he has some sort of like popular Twitter following or whatever, But even going on Twitter, like I don't have a popular Twitter account. I have a few Twitter users that I follow, but my For You page, right, whatever it's called, it's just full of racist content. It's just full of white nationalist content that's trying to bait me into seeing everything in a sort of racist binary where it's black versus white, it's white versus Jew, it's Asian versus Asian, whatever, black versus Asian. It's horrible, you know, and they're trying to program you to think like that. So, and it's the worst part is it's attracting Christians that don't know how to see things, from a theological perspective, that have a very, I don't know, maybe low sense of morality or just are uneducated or whatever. By the way, Pinesap, regarding Franco being an alleged Catholic, I don't think that's all it takes for you to support someone, especially when they're just Catholic in name only. Would you support Genocide Joe just because he calls himself a Catholic? The same Sleepy Joe Biden that enabled the Palestinian genocide? The same one that said that he didn't want his kids growing up in a racial jungle? The same Joe Biden that drafted the 1994 crime bill? Like, are you honestly telling me that just because he calls himself a Catholic that he's the same person that deserves your vote? Like, come on, man. Like, I know you when I know this is more of a political thing that regarding party lines than it is, a religious thing.
Priests? I mean, priests don't brandish guns and kill
You just
people.
refuse to condemn the Nazi Holocaust, my friend. I don't think you're in a position to ask anyone any questions.
I quite frankly don't care what you think about me. If I'm a Nazi and
the
being a
feeling
Nazi,
is mutual,
if
so
being a Nazi means upholding human
kinda
dignity,
done.
because I even believe in your dignity. I don't in
I
a
don't-
state that I was
with the
running.
greatest of
I wouldn't
respect,
want to. I wouldn't want to hurt
I
you
don't
or
debate.
anything like that. But
What are we
quite
doing
frankly,
here? I don't debate fascists.
okay. So do you concede then? I mean, why
Do I
wh-
concede you're a fascist who won't condemn the Nazis?
Yeah.
Yes, I concede that.
Okay, great. So I mean, what are we doing here? Because I mean, you
don't
just seem
know what
offended.
you're doing here,
You
to be
just seem
honest.
offended, to be quite frankly. Like,
I'm offended by people who can't condemn the Nazis. Yes, I am.
okay. Well, I condemn the evils that they did, but I don't really
Against
care
the
about
Jews?
being. Yeah, sure. I don't care though about being called a
Yeah,
Nazi
sure.
is the whole thing.
He should care. The fact that he doesn't, the fact that he's doing the whole Steve Bannon thing where he takes being called a racist or a Nazi or a fascist with pride is it's very offensive, first of all, and it's disgusting. He shouldn't be doing that, but he is. You know, two wrongs don't make a right. Okay, yeah, someone okay, as an example, someone may mistakenly misunderstand you and not interpret charitably what you're saying and call you a racist. Okay, that's wrong on their side, you know. But if a lot of people start doing it, maybe you should take some time to analyze your behavior and what you're talking about and some of your personal thoughts and feelings, and think about what it is you're saying, and maybe take into consideration what it is that, you're putting in the air that's coming out of your mouth. Is it actually, racist, even if it's just something small, you know? So that's we we take too much liberties with our individualism. We take freedom of speech with way too much pride, and we cherish freedom of speech too much, I would say. To the point that it becomes a badge of honor, you know, and we cherish it way more than we do sacred scripture. We cherish it way more than we do our faith, and it's a complete disaster. But anyway,
I never called you a
I
Nazi.
care
You
about
called
doing the
yourself a
right
Nazi, a
thing.
fascist, and a General Franco
Well,
supporter.
yeah, I am a General Franco supporter. He was awesome. He was so super cool, quite frankly. Because the whole
And
thing,
you don't believe in democracy.
I don't believe in
What are
democracy.
you doing here at a televised debate?
Because,
This is democracy. I want to debate and disagree.
Because it is the means to support an end. The reason we have free speech now is because we want to be openly talking about our opinions so we can get the state that we want. But it doesn't mean
This is
upholding
great.
free speech after we win.
Again,
I mentioned
the only good thing about this fascist moment we're in is
reason,
that you guys are so open about it.
the whole
It's great.
reason
Say
I
the
mentioned
quiet part loud.
the
Keep saying
whole
it.
reason I mentioned Carl Schmitt earlier, and you kind of blew past him, is the friend enemy distinction.
past him because of the Nazi
even
point.
liberals, when they take power, they want to enact policies and they want to enact protections for their people and their ideas, and they're willing to punish their enemy. And so I'm the same way. I'm like, hey, if you're going to punish me, I'm going to get in power, and I'm going to frankly punish you when you try to leverage power against me. Just that simple.
I'm not sure what you want to say.
Hey, it is what it is.
All right. Pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
and that's precisely why I did not vote Trump, and I voted for Dr. Jill Stein. It was my first time ever voting Green Party, and she was, I think, the only candidate I ever saw actually speak for the Palestinian people and actually spend time with Palestinians. So, but let's take a look at some tabs I have open. Oh, would you look at that? A Native American, indigenous Catholic saint, Saint Cattery. I can't. I'm sorry for butchering the name, but known as the Lily of the Mohawks. You know, would you look at that? It's it's something that a white nationalist, doesn't want to talk about. Because they don't want to recognize the importance of the indigenous people. You know, it. Let's look at some more things that neo-fascists and neo-Nazis say. Oh, Saint Maximilian Kolbe, okay, a martyr known for hiding the Jews during the persecution of, the Jews and Catholics in Poland. All right. Let's see. Missionary and martyr volunteered to die in place of a man named František in the German death camp of Auschwitz. Okay. There's a lot of very good information on him on different Catholic websites, but yeah, he saved a lot of people and was a very wonderful person. And let's look at the death count for Catholics, since Nazis absolutely hated Catholics. The most feared Polish. This is from Catholic Answers. The most feared Polish institution, of course, was the Church. As it had given to the Polish people, it had encouraged aspirations of Polish culture, learning, and independence. In the annexed regions of Poland, Nazi officials closed churches, seminaries, convents, and seminaries, and the majority of priests were arrested or executed. Between 39 and 45, over 3,000 members of the Polish clergy were killed. 1,992 of them died in concentration camps, 787 of them at Dachau. And let's see, estimates of the Polish that were killed in the war are between 5 and 5.5 million, including 3 million Polish Jews. Okay. Among Catholic priests, 2,720 of the clergy were sent to Dachau. 2,579 were Catholic priests, along with an uncertain number of seminarian and lay brothers. Most were Polish priests, 1,748 in all. with 411 German priests. All right. So how is it possible that you got this guy Pinesap and Nick Fuentes and all these other morons that look up to Hitler, Kanye West, that look up to Hitler and say, "Oh, he was based, he was cool," you know, because he said some things about the Jews or whatever, right? That's it's a disgrace, okay? And if we're talking the fact that it's so frustrating that he couldn't denounce a genocide, you know, it doesn't matter whether uh, at this how let's look at what an actual Catholic, Pope Leo, recently said about a genocide that's going on right now. Pope Leo XIV forcefully expressed his commitment to make every effort possible so that peace may prevail, to help bring enemies together face to face, to talk to one another, so that peoples everywhere may find hope and recover the dignity of peace. Let us meet, let us talk, let us negotiate. He insisted that war is never inevitable and called for the silencing of weapons which do not resolve problems but only increase them. Okay? I'm trying to think of like the last time there was ever a just war, and I really can't think of it. Okay? This is why it's insulting to have guys like this on this platform. Okay? I'm at a point where I think Pinesap, should be deplatformed because he doesn't represent the Catholic faith. He was a disgrace in that video, and he just comes off as someone just that won't condemn evil. If anything, he's given evil like a sort of like a side hug, saying like, "Oh yeah, I'm totally not evil." Wink, wink. It's disgusting. All genocides should be condemned, no matter the victim, no matter the people group. And he doesn't seem to be, charitable towards the indigenous American, towards minority groups or immigrants. And same goes for the Jews. You know, he's in that far right echo chamber where it's just constant othering of people. I don't know what his thoughts are on black people. I don't know what his thoughts are on women, but I'm pretty sure they're just as bad. Okay? It's it's not Catholic. It's not Christian. So it's I don't know what to do with I don't know what to do with guys like him. I don't know. It's we have so many good men and women in the faith that are saints that are crying right now because we got guys like this that are calling themselves Catholic, this guy right here and whoever else that I still have to watch that are scandalizing atheists, that are scandalizing Muslims, that are scandalizing Jews and making the faith seem terrifying. Oh, this is what a Catholic stands for? This is what a good Catholic looks like? This is what the traditional Catholic faith teaches? This is, the universal church. This is what it looks like. I don't want to be a part of that. And yet these influencers are the loudest voices that get platformed. And it needs to be condemned. First of all, it needs to be deplatformed, and we need voices, from good people, from good Catholics that are able to be platformed and that are louder. So, but I'm not an apologist. I'm still learning about my faith. I'm still trying to read more from the saints, and I'm just frustrated. So yeah, I don't have a conclusion really. So I just wanted to give my take, and yeah. And before I go, okay, if I get any comments on this video, because I know I'm going to get reactions from followers of Pinesap and Nick Fuentes or whatever, right? Saying that I'm just jealous because of his follower count, or if I get comments saying that Hitler was actually a good guy or whatever, or Hitler was based, or if I get comments from the other side saying that Jesus was some sort of communist or whatever, okay, I'm deleting them. They're gone. And if you keep spamming comments and just keep typing them in or whatever, I'm gonna block you. Okay, I'm not gonna tolerate it. All right. If you're one of those people that's gonna keep defending white nationalism or whatever, and just keep spurring whatever in the comments section, I'm gonna block you. Okay, you're gone. I don't want you subscribed to me if that's what you hold. All right. Again, I have my sympathies for you if you're someone that's lost, if you're someone that feels rejected by society and is hurting. Okay, but if you're going to take it out in such a hateful, bigoted manner, and you're going to just be full of resentment, and you're going to take it out by othering people that are not deserving of that hatred, you know, which no one really is, but you know what I'm talking about. I just don't want you around. Okay, so that's it, and yeah, I'll see you guys later.